We are live, or we should be live, but I'm all by myself, so I'm wondering where Jennifer and Courtney are. Oh, you guys are still in the backstage. Okay, let me move you to the webinar. There we go. And I'll just hold on and wait a little bit for them. Oh, there you are.
This is very technically tricky, but we made it.
You
We
made
made
it.
it.
You're here. All is well and all is good. And we're also live streaming already as well. So we're just
Yeah.
basically good to go. I'm going to give a little introduction for the show and for both of you. And then we kind of like get started with kind of a bunch of questions that I have for both of you. But for those of you who are here watching the show, so welcome to the Master Your Exit Live show. It's powered by the Big Exit. I'm Lynn, for those of you who don't know me just yet. I'll be your host for today. And on this Master Your Exit Live show, we bring practical insights, expert interviews, tools to help small business owners like yourself prepare for your big exit. This show goes live or airs every Tuesday at 7 a.m. in LA or 10 a.m. in New York, where my two guests are based, or 3 p.m. in London if you're over on the other side in Europe. Every show is very short and simple, maximum 30 minutes. So today will be the same thing. If you're tuning in on our YouTube, on our LinkedIn channel where we're live streaming, welcome so much. If you joined us live here in the studio, which can also be the case in our Zoom studio, that's really cool as well. You can drop any questions that you have in the chat. We'll be able to answer them during the live show today or at some other point if we don't have the time to address them. And if you're catching this episode later, you can find more episodes, basically all of the episodes of this show on our website, thebigexit.co/master your exit shows. Or you can listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast platform. That's the introduction for the show, but I already mentioned to you, I'm honored to have two amazing guests today. Jennifer Spivak, or Jen, if I can say Jen, which is how I
You can
normally
say
would
it.
call her, and Courtney Tarrant. Both of them, they are the co-owners of the Ad Girls, which is a Facebook ads agency, not your average one. That's what their website is saying, and I'll let them talk about that a little bit more. And at the end of last year, the Ad Girls have acquired another business. And it was Jen and Courtney's first acquisition, if I get that right. So on this show, I'm just really excited to ask them a whole bunch of questions like, why did you buy a business? And how did you find that business? How did you decide on the whole pricing and terms and conditions? And like, how's the post-acquisition life right now as well? So Courtney, Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the show. It's really an honor to have you both here. Take us back a little bit to what I believe it was the end of 2024, I believe, and how the Ad Girls was doing at the time and how the idea came about to actually buy a business.
Yeah. I can take this one.
Yeah, you go first.
Every time we do things together, we're like eyeing each other. Okay, I think I'm going to take this one. I'll take this one. So we'll do our best, but we can both talk. So anyway, the official acquisition happened in October of 2024, but the like seeds of this were planted much, much earlier. So I would say, God, probably for at least a year or two prior to that, right? At least we had begun, Courtney and I, just like an internal conversation of we want to build an empire. Like we see what like other people are doing in the online space who are just like staying in the online space and kind of doing the same thing forever. And we also see these other people who are playing a much bigger game. Sadly, at least up until now, most of them seem to be men. And we were like, yeah, we want to play that game. So we don't know what that looks like. And we don't have like a tangible plan, but we're like putting it out there. And this is a thing that we're going to make happen. And in the beginning of 2024, we had a lot of goals for 2024. We actually hit like, I think every single one of them, which is very exciting. But one of those goals was that by the end of the year, we would have our first acquisition. And again, kind of no plans, no idea what that's going to look like. And I had said to Courtney, I just have this weird feeling that it's just going to like appear for us. Like that there isn't a thing that we need to go do, that it's just going to happen. And that is what ended up happening. The company that we did eventually buy was actually an old Ad Girls client. We ran their ads many years ago. And so the founder knew us, knew how we ran our company, and knew how we treated our people. And she was looking for someone to buy and actually reached out to us and said, "Hey, would you be interested?" And I was like, I knew it was going to just appear. And that's sort of how all that happened.
Take me a little bit back, Jen or Courtney, because you've mentioned when you were doing the explanation just now, you've mentioned like in the beginning of 2024, we decided we wanted to do an acquisition that year. Why an acquisition? Because for a lot of smaller business owners, and excuse me using the word small, because the ads agency I mean, the Ad Girls is not a small business, but in the range of all the
Of
world's
course.
corporations, it's a small business.
Mm.
Um, when I speak to most business owners, I mean, you're bootstrapped, you bought this thing, you know, like you started this thing from nothing and built it into an amazing agency. Like acquiring a business is very rare that I hear that story. Like there's a lot of communication and talk about growth and scaling and
Sure.
all of these things, but scaling through acquisition, how did that ended up being on the table in the first place? I'm really curious about that.
Right. I feel like I can take this one because a part of it is we had grown the Ad Girls to a certain point where we just didn't want to grow it any larger because at a certain, like, at every level of business, you have to like break everything and reinvent it in order to get to the next level. And we had gotten to a point with the Ad Girls where we were like, if we grow much bigger than this, we're going to lose this boutique service. We're going to lose this like high touch way that we do business. And we actually don't want to do that. And I had worked myself kind of out of a job, to be totally honest. My specialty is inside of operations and just like making the business run and profitability. And Jen gets to be like the marketing genius and sort of more of the front end. And so I had built this amazing back end system, and we were kind of like, okay, what next? If we're not going to continue growing, if this is working, like, don't break it, right? Like, don't break something that's not broken. Like, it's okay. And what could be another option? And I think that the idea really started to percolate when we were at a conference and we saw like I
Yes.
guess like a
So when we were
presentation.
at social media marketing world, is that where it
Yeah.
was?
Yeah, we were at
Yes.
Social Media Marketing World and we saw somebody talking about mergers and acquisitions and how you can buy companies with no money down. And we were like,
Yes.
that feels not real. So we went to this session and then we noticed that everybody that was in the session, we were all men, and everybody was just talking about like this game where like all these bros were just like taking over the world. And Jen and I were like, we have to be in this room. Like this is what we've got to do it for the girls. So we've got to be there. We've
Yeah.
got to like make this happen and build this empire. And like if the Ad Girls is stable, if the Ad Girls is not just stable, it's like flourishing and doing so good, and I have additional time, could I lead up inside of our partnership, like mergers and acquisitions, let Jen continue to run the agency, which is like what she was so good at and loves to do, and start to build out like our portfolio of businesses that we own. And so that's where the idea started. And then when I realized that in 2024 that I was going to have so much additional time, that was when we were like, okay, we've got to pull the trigger this year.
And you both really decided like, okay, we're not gonna go hunting. We're not gonna go on, like seller buyers
Well,
platforms. We're
to
we're
be
not doing
clear,
any of these things. We're
I
just gonna be
wanted to
very
do that.
feminine about this and let it just come to us.
I
Tell
wanted
me
to
a
do
little
that.
bit more about that.
When Jen said that the business was just going to show up, I literally told her she was crazy. I was like, "You're dumb. That's not going to happen. I'm going to keep doing the work because nothing's just going to show up for us." Like Jen has said many crazy things in our partnership of like, this is just going to happen. And I've learned over time to trust it. But this was a hard one to trust. I was like, it's not, what do you mean it's just gonna show up? And when it did, she literally sent me a Vox or like a voice note and she was like, hey, remember how I said that thing was gonna happen? Well, It just
It
happened.
did.
And I was like, oh no, I'm never gonna live this down.
Yeah. And look, I mean, it's not
Amazing.
like we did nothing. We joined Roland Fraser's program and we went to one of his events in London. So I would say like we both logistically and energetically got ourselves in spaces in which we were like, the right opportunity will present itself. So it wasn't an active like, and today we will contact 6 businesses. It was just like where this is the next level for us. Just touching on something that Courtney was saying previously. For me, the person who is still at the helm of the ad girls, there is an option to keep growing, which we could totally do. But there's also, and this has really kind of been like, I think where we've been sitting now, it's kind of like this experience of like enjoying the fruits of our labor. Like we've been building, and like everything kind of just works. And also, this size company, specifically an agency model, we're like really good at. And I'm not going to lie, I understand that, like, if we're talking about a $10 million agency, I'm sure that that looks different. I like doing things that I'm good at, and I'm really good in this space. And because we're not trying to 2x, 3x, 4x our size, where I've always said that we're, boutique, but somebody was like, if you guys have 22 team members, you're not boutique anymore. I'm like, oh no. But anyway, regardless of what our size classification is, we get really, really, really good profitability. And I still get to know everyone, every client and every team member, right? We're not so big that we lose that touch. And so that was also a big part of that decision to say, if we're really good at this thing and the way that this company functions is like just so in integrity with how we want to run businesses, but we don't want to like stop building and growing. Like, who would we be? That's so weird. Acquisition was like the natural next thing.
Gotcha. And then kind of like easy scaling comes along all of a sudden, kind of like out
Yeah.
of nowhere,
Yeah.
which is amazing in and of itself. And I think like you kind of say it like it's just happened. It just happened. But I mean, obviously, you've put yourself mentally and energetically and physically in the right kind of spaces to kind of let that happen as well. Like you were saying, Jen, too, like it's not like we did nothing. We did put ourselves in spaces. We were mentally getting ourselves prepared for the opportunity. We were just not hunting the opportunity in
Right.
itself, but we were aligning ourselves
100%.
to this mission, which is amazing. And then easy scaling comes along. Jordan comes along. She's like, hey, I want to sell this business. Now, what made you decide we're going to buy this one and not another one? I mean, there could have, like the week after, there could have been another business that you would be interested in buying, maybe. So, what made you decide, like, this is a good fit? This works in our strategy. If there's a strategy, like, this works in the strategy. Like, how did that kind of come about and then deciding this is the right kind of business? Because I'm assuming if you don't want to grow in like the direction or the activities that you're already doing, you're kind of looking more for businesses that are complementary, maybe offering services that you could offer to your existing client base. So take me a little bit through that thinking process as well. And that probably leads us into why easy scaling was a good fit.
Yeah. I mean, I was very excited because this is literally an operations agency. And I was like, this is my dream. Like Jen literally in that same voice note where she was like, the opportunity showed up. She was like, I have a gift for you also. Like it is like an operations company. Because really what easy scaling does is it helps women scale their businesses by making sure that the back end of their company can support the growth that they want, right? So many of us get to the point in business where we're really good and all of a sudden we're selling some stuff and then we're like, oh, we're working 18-hour days and we're like, how did we get here? And I'm not profitable and what's going on? And what about my team? And all of those things are actually so, so important. And really what we even wish sometimes clients had before they got to the ad girls was like this stable back end so that when we put, like gas on the fire, so to speak, and we really start to bring them a lot of leads, their business infrastructure can handle it. So I think it was very complimentary. And I'll just speak from my perspective of like, you mean I get to like focus on this thing as the job? Like this is perfect. Like I was literally so excited. My first message back to Jen was like, I want it. I want it. Like,
I
please.
I
want
want
it.
it.
Give it
Write
to
the
me.
check.
Yeah.
Seriously. Well, one other thing too that I mean, I have to assume this is very rare in this conversation, but because we had literally ran their ads before and their ads worked incredibly well, we had, I don't know if I would say 100% certainty, but like 98% certainty that we already had the marketing and growth plan like validated, locked in. Like we were like, what? I can't. Oh my God. Like imagine another opportunity where, right, you think you know how you're going to grow and market the company, but technically until you get in there, you may not really know what's going to happen. But we literally had already run the ads very successfully. We were like, we're gonna be able to turn on the client acquisition machine in 5 seconds. And so that was also a major selling point of feeling like the question mark of how would we grow this? It didn't really feel like a question.
Makes absolute sense. And this is a story that I hear more often. And I obviously hear more the stories of small business owners selling. And often the selling happens to whether that's a client or whether that's a supplier or an employee sometimes as well. But like these kinds of deals are often made because I mean there's already trust there. You've been working together, you go way back, you've got the stories together, you know each other's business, personalities, like all of these things come about. So Jen, I'm so happy that you highlight this as well. It's kind of like that's that trust factor, right? You already knew this business, you already knew that you could make this business into a bigger thing
Yep.
because you had already done the marketing for them and stuff like that. So you've got that whole like trust piece that was
Yes.
already settled there. Would you have not bought this business if that wasn't the case?
I don't know if I would say that. I just think that we we may still have. It was just something that I think probably made us move a little bit more quickly in feeling like, yes, this is going to be something that makes sense just because it's not just trust, it's literal validation. It's knowing exactly what marketing system to turn on in an instant and it's ads. I mean, you just turn it on and they run. We've already set them up and ran it for them years ago. And just yeah, it was just one less thing to figure out, right? So it meant that like a lot of our due diligence, as it would have been anyway, was in looking at, the team and the operations and the profitability, but we didn't have to spend too much time thinking about how would we grow. We were like, yeah, we already know that. And so we can really focus on how we would implement and structure things.
Gotcha.
So it
Tell
was
me
just
a little bit
one less
more
hurdle to,
about like, sorry, go ahead, Jen.
sorry, I just said it was just like one less hurdle to get us over.
Yeah, and just talking about like hurdles and due diligence, because you dropped the word due diligence. So in 2024, at the beginning, you were like, we're going to acquire a business this year. You put yourself into the spaces, the energy, you know where you need to be. The opportunity pops up. Turns out it's a dream opportunity. You've already worked with this person, with this business. You know them inside out. You know you can grow this business. You basically it's like a Tinder date made in heaven, right? It's like, oh my God, you both fall in love with each other. It's like blue skies and white sand, beachy cocktails, all these things. But then there's this phase of like constructing the deal, right? Which is another part of that game. Can you share a little bit more about how that went? Did you feel like because it was your first acquisition. How did you feel about doing that due diligence, creating that deal? How comfortable were you with that? Did you learn it on the fly? Did you have somebody next to you to help you walk through that process? Because it's strenuous and it's intense and it's emotional and it's all of these things. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, like after the romance and the courting and all of these things, the due diligence process, like how that happened and how you ended up with a great deal for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I really like ran point inside of the due diligence process and inside of just even the construction of the deal. Um, And it's very exciting, I think. Like, it's my favorite part because it's like really looking at and assessing risk, which is something that I do in my day-to-day life. Like, I'm always thinking about the things that could go wrong so that I'm prepared for it. Um,
Literally.
and I mean, hindsight's always 2020. So when I look back on it now, I'm like, well, I wish that I had known this, this, and this. But I think that at the time, we came in and we gave a deal that like we offered a deal that was, I think, a bit low, quite a bit lower than some of the other deals on the table. But we had a vision for the ecosystem that Jordan had created inside of this business. You know, she has like a course that she was running at the time. There was quite a bit of intellectual property in addition to the team and the way that she had structured the offer. And so I saw very clearly the way that all of those things could stay intact. And there were some other offers on the table that wanted to disassemble them and like was really just looking to acquire her team and her list of contacts and just was like looking at a different type of structure. So I think the reason that our deal sort of worked, even though it was a lower acquisition, it was a lower multiple, was because we shared the same vision as the founder. We like came alongside her and we were really like considerate of the thing that she had built and like the direction that she would have taken the business in on her own is the direction that we wanted to take it in. But we just had sort of a little bit more of the gusto, if you will, or a little bit more of the grit to be like, I see where this can go and I want to take it there using the system and the structure that is in place, keeping your team intact, like really trying to be yeah, just like come alongside her instead of taking this in a totally different direction or like piecing it out. We want to like come alongside you and sort of like take over the reins and keep going in the same direction. So I think that was a very important part of the conversation and the consideration. And I think that upon looking at and diving deeper into all of the assets and chatting with all of the team, I think there were quite a few like emotional conversations of, well, we thought that this was going to look like this, but it actually looks like this. And so, how do we reassess the value when these things have shifted and have changed? And we ended up restructuring like the terms of the deal more so than the actual valuation. So like we kind of like delayed some payments out and like there was different, we adjusted that instead of adjusting the actual value because we were able to get it at such a great multiple and something that was really profitable. And so I think the biggest part about the due diligence process is being able to, I think, keep your wits about you and like not be emotional, not make emotional decisions, like really try to be logical. And also like recognize that you're dealing with somebody who built this with like their blood, sweat, and tears. And so there are things that you're going to come up against that the business owner may actually not want to honor that for you and they may not want to do this. And I think that those because we were rooted in so much respect and so much like we had a previous relationship, I think it really helped us in those conversations that maybe would have made the deal fall apart in a different context, but I knew what Jordan desired for her team and for her business and she trusted that like we weren't just here to try to like get one over on her. Like that was never our goal and we were always like really honest and like really ready to show up to the difficult conversations amidst all of the like the ebbs and flows of due diligence that I think are quite typical.
Yeah. But we also got to be like really honest, both sides of like what we were looking for. One of the components that gave us the leverage that we needed to make some adjustments to the terms and purchase price was knowing that the previous founder, so something that was super important to her was speed. She had just had her third baby and was like, gotta get out. you know, um, you're just like three is a lot more than two. I'm like, it does sound like it could be, yeah. And so, that was another thing as well, where right, it was just another component where if we could move faster, if we could get you out sooner, could we also then make this deal change or this structure over here so that it really did get to be like a genuine conversation of like how can everybody get the things that they want instead of the like it's me versus you. And it always brings me back to, technically at the beginning of Courtney and I's partnership, we had to like sign partnership documents to like, right, legally form our business partnership. And our lawyers, who were both men, just always feel that that is worth mentioning. It just felt like there was an energy of like them pitting us against each other,
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense because we have to literally be in partnership with each other after this. But there was this energetic of, well, I'm protecting Jen, and so that means Courtney can't get what she wants. And I'm protecting Courtney, so that means Jen. And it was just like gross. This is like a way to operate in the world that like doesn't really work for us. And so having that experience, we also got to bring that into this of like, it's not a us versus you. Everybody can actually show up and be genuine around like what their needs are, and everybody can be committed to actually meeting everybody's needs like all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that about this story. And I mean, we've done an interview on Forbes as well about this acquisition story and how you really honored the vision of creating a win-win for everybody involved, or like a win-win-win, or whatever you want to call it, but like just so everybody is like just super cool about in the end how the deal is being structured and whatever, despite the fact that you did have difficult conversations and there were like emotional discussions being had and all of these things. So I love that. I mean, and I truly believe that like you've really been honoring that win-win vision, and that enables also to really understand what the other person wants from this deal and what you want from this deal. And so because it's not only about the money. It's
Of
never
course.
even about the money, really. I mean, that's just one thing, but it's also about like vision and legacy, and where do you want to go with this, and like does that align with where I would want to go with this thing as well. So really appreciate it, and it's refreshing to hear stories like this. So thank you so much for sharing that. Keeping an eye on the time, there's really one more question that I wanted to ask before wrapping things up. So we're in this post acquisition life, the deal's been done, everything's going smooth. That's kind of like the
Question
impression that
mark?
you're giving me.
Question mark? Yeah.
Not sure if that's the case.
Yeah.
But what I'm really keen, without like pulling away the curtains and everything in the behind the scenes of post acquisition live, but how do you see this strategy moving forward? Do you think you'll do more acquisitions like you've done this first? Yeah, Jen's like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because you've got
Yes.
a
And
taste.
they will just appear, by the way. So
Yeah, they will all just appear. And now I have a little bit more faith that that's true. I would say that post-acquisition life is incredible. We've been able to scale the business to its highest revenue months ever, which is amazing. Largely in part due to the fact that we know exactly like our scaling machine. We know how to market this company. And we actually even have had to like turn ads off and like slow sales down because we're like, hold on a second. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact of like if you move into somebody else's house, like fully furnished, there are things that totally makes there's absolutely a couch, there's absolutely a kitchen, and all those things are functional. And also, if you're hosting like a large party and you've never hosted that many people before, you would be like, oh, I think I need to move the couch over here. And oh, the table, like, right, I need to get a bigger table. Like those kinds of things are and optimizations are the things that we're working through, which are actually really incredible, like things I want to say like incredible problems, but they're not even problems. They're just incredible, um, like like things to come up against. And I think it's very typical if you are acquiring something from somebody else that just like is their brain baby, and you're taking it over and you're like, okay, I'm going to be doing things this, but like my way, right? We're going to change the paint colors and now we're expanding the team. So we're like building on an addition, right? This house metaphor is really taken off without me. But anyway, it is a very I think because it was an acquisition versus us just starting this on our own, we've been able to grow so much faster and like with so much more integrity and really know that we can deliver a high-end service ultimately at the end of the day, because of the infrastructure that Jordan built. And I am so, so grateful for that. And I think that everything that we are coming up against and all the optimizations that we get to make now are just like, it's the fun part. It's actually the decorating of the house versus the building of it, which can be quite labor intensive. And so yeah, I think more acquisitions are definitely in our future. We talk about it often. And it's been a really incredible experience all around, I would say.
Amazing. And I see all the sparkles in your eyes and the enthusiasm. And I mean, it's so exciting that you can grow. And this is like a new strategy. It's not just growth, but it's like growing through
Yes.
acquisition, which is very different than just scaling or like putting more like petrol on the fire or something like that. And I can see the excitement of this new journey that you're embarking on, which is really cool to see. Jen, is there anything else you would like to add before we kind of like wrap up this amazing conversation? I believe this has been very inspiring for everybody who's watching live or going to watch this in a replay. Anything you'd like to add, Jen? Or maybe pitch that you're looking for a specific business to buy, for example.
I mean, I don't even know if we know specifically. Obviously, something that we always knew and have now like confirmation in is that we know the agency space incredibly well, and there are so many unique elements to it. So additional agencies that are complementary are always something that we're going to be interested in. I will never stop bugging Courtney that like we need a laundromat. I just like genuinely believe that we need at least one business that is like not the online world service. Like I want laundromat level problems. But the truth is that like regardless at the end of the day, it's just, all I've done prior to this for the last decade is basically build one company. And we made it great, but it's opened up something entirely new. And again, it doesn't hurt that it feels like this has been something that like mostly has been like, a conversation in boys clubs. And we're like, haha, we got in and like, now we're gonna like really build our own empire. And so I think that's the piece that feels really exciting.
Love that. And I think that's a beautiful way to wrap things up because I remember we started this conversation about the desire to build this empire and putting yourself into the right kind of spaces. And now you're, like just taking such a big leap and such a big step further into that direction. And I can't wait to see what the future holds. So it's going to be like super exciting. Wishing, not only luck, I don't think you need luck, just the right kind of businesses coming your way
Yes.
and you'll make it like into something even more incredible. So, I mean, just want to say thank you so much for being on the show and just sharing your journey and your approach to these things. It's so refreshing. It's so new. It's so feminine as well, which I really appreciate, because it is as you mentioned a couple of times, it's a man's conversation. It's a man's room. And you're bringing a whole new, like fresh air into it, young, dynamic, feminine. It's really exciting to see. So thank you so much for being on the show, both of you.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, for those of you who have watched the show live or later, this is a wrap for this week's episode of the Master Your Exit live show. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you're leaving with some valuable insights, but I mean, it's not a hope. I'm pretty sure that's the case to help you prepare for your big exit, maybe even an acquisition if you're thinking about doing that. Now, remember, you can catch the replay of this episode and all of the other episodes on our website, thebigexit.co, or listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast platform. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to send in your exit questions before next week's show or leave it as a comment under the live stream. Head to the website where you can leave your questions as well. You can sign up there too to be live in our virtual studio next week and get all your questions answered there. We'll be back next Tuesday at 7 a.m. in LA, 10 a.m. in New York, or 3 p.m. in London time with more tips, expert interviews, and tools to help you master your exit. Until then, keep building, keep preparing, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye, girls.